So Balenciaga dropped Kanye West yesterday, officially. Well, we'll get into more about that. But before we get started, make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel Fashion is Art to get more fashion topics, culture topics, and anything that's going on within that industry so you stay up to date with it. So Balenciaga removed the Yeezy Gap from their website and all the branding associated with them. Also, any future collaborations or shows, including products that are made by Yeezy, have been removed. Now, why is this going on? Well, to add a little bit more, I'm going to read a little bit from the statement that was released by their team, as well as what we've been able to gather from some of the new changes that Balenciaga's put on their site. So it appears Kering-owned Balenciaga has quietly cut ties with Ye, news first reported by NSS. Rather than issue a public statement, the company has quietly quit the relationship by removing the brand's association with Ye and Yeezy from websites it has control over. For Balenciaga's spring 2023 presentation, Vogue has removed the look Ye modeled and replaced it with a caption that reads, "This slideshow has been edited." As well, the Yeezy Gap engineered by Balenciaga product has been removed by Balenciaga's site, along with Luis Aviaroma and Farfetch. The move follows Ye's appearance on Revolt's Drink Champs, on which he spewed those remarks that we're not going to mention into word. You know how YouTube is. Ye has long been a vocal supporter of Balenciaga designer Demna, and no doubt created the connection that led to Kim Kardashian being tapped as an ambassador for the label. As a rule, he does not weigh in on Ye's controversial statements. However, it's known he admires him as a creative. Naturally so. Now, we have new news, though, that kind of goes into why this video was being made. It was just released yesterday that Balenciaga came out with a statement saying this: Balenciaga has no longer any relationship nor any plans for future projects related to this artist. You know, that's pretty wild, coming out, releasing that statement just like that, where they've had this long-standing relationship with Kanye West, is pretty surprising. But when you look into it a little bit more, you start to see the real reason why they broke things off with Ye. This decision is coming on the back end of their third quarter report. And when you're in the business, like I've mentioned in previous videos, you're not just looking at what you've done in this current quarter, but your projections for the next quarter and the next year. So when they were meeting, discussing all the projects they have lined up in the near future, they're also talking about Kanye West. And they're thinking about how have we benefited versus what are we doing with him going forward? How is that going to negatively impact our business? Because Balenciaga knows that they have a specific line they'll release with Kanye West, but that's not the overall umbrella of everything they do. They have a lot of other projects. They have a lot of other connections, companies, and investors that naturally, if they're not a fan of some of these statements, then it doesn't make any sense to have him on. And you also have to recognize that it's not like they were just rolling in all their projections. For them to make this decision shortly after having this meeting tells me that they didn't make as much money as they had intended to with the Yeezy Balenciaga collaboration, which is unfortunate. You know, that was very much publicized, and I have a video that talks a little bit more about it and what I expected at that time would come from their collaboration. But obviously, times have changed. And Demna, who was mentioned in this statement briefly, you know, as being Ye's friend, they've had a really long relationship with each other. In fact, going back to 2014 when they just started working together, building a relationship with each other, and even Kanye helping Demna get into that role with Balenciaga as, you know, just being the creative director, being the head of all they do there. It does go to show you one thing, though. Despite that, he doesn't have that pull. Even in his own words, not wanting to get involved in what goes on in Ye's controversy is smart business-wise, but it's to save your own ass, really. Because at the end of the day, anything that he says could negatively impact his role with Balenciaga. That's his money. That's his cash cow. He can't rely on Kanye West to carry him if he backs some of his comments and he gets fired because of it. That's why you don't see a lot of celebrities I would say one of the reasons why you don't see a lot of celebrities just coming out and defending it because a lot of them are in a position to where if they bark up this wrong tree, they will end up in trouble and it will negatively impact their earning potential. So with that in mind, I definitely see why it was done. Money definitely matters most to Balenciaga, and they weren't gonna they weren't gonna let it continue if it's not positively increasing them. It was just confirmed that Gap is still selling all of their Yeezy Gap merchandise. Now, they obviously have a lot to roll through. It's not like they can just wipe it off like Balenciaga because it was a one set collab. Yeezy and Gap have been joint at the hip for over a year now, and they have had a lot of releases. So it's very difficult for me to see something like this tampering it. I would more than likely see them just separating in natural due time. As you know, Nike got a lot of backlash initially when they decided to side with Colin Kaepernick. They had jerseys being burnt. Nike merch that was already bought, by the way, was being burnt, which is, I think, one of the dumbest things you can do. But, anyways, people would do that. And it hurt Nike for the first couple months. You know, they saw a sharp drop in their stocks at that time, but they also had benefit going in the future. They knew at some point in time, once football season was really picking up, because this was happening like preseason ish, as it started, as that season was getting rolling, and there's a lot of noise that was kicking up during the offseason as well of pending this going to be in effect. So Nike, from that period of time to about December, which I would say is like three, hold up, no, 4 or 5 months, I would say, from when that controversy was really starting, they saw an increase in 10% of their projected revenue. So obviously, what they were doing with Cap was right, and they only wanted to do it though because they put it into play in their heads. They saw the pros, they saw the cons, and they realized, hey, we can make a lot more money with him than we would without him. So when it comes to that, you really have to understand that these brands are all about money at the end of the day. So not to get very upset in the ways that they take a lot of their approaches. Try not to think about it too deeply. It's solely just the money pit. That way, you're not too wrapped up in the way you feel about certain brands and let it impact your desire of them. But in recent days, Kanye has backtracked. We will see if that has a mark on his partners, because as we know, and a lot of people have kind of cut him off. He still isn't allowed back on Instagram, and even going on these interviews, this apology tour, right? If we want to call it, we just never know, because a lot of times the damage is really done by your words. You can't really take that back. But I mean, that's really all we're going to talk about with this one. It was good touching base with y'all. I want to know your comments on this situation down below, and be sure to like and subscribe on your way out, and we'll see y'all next one. These my daddies make it hurt.